Well, good morning, one and all.
Good morning.
As always, a pleasure to greet you here this morning in person and virtually. This is the first Sunday of the summer of 2021, and we all have hopes for a better summer than last year. Of course, that's not a very high bar to set, but still, we're looking for the best. I do have a few announcements to share with you. Again, we are collecting items for veterans. There's a veterans box in the back, and I believe there's a list back there, or contact Debbie Sylvia for a list of items that are needed. A lot of these items will go to homeless veterans, but a lot of items will also be going and have gone to troops that are being deployed from Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Apparently there was a recall that the troops were supposed to be coming home, but that is no longer the case, and we're sending more abroad. So certainly in need of some personal items. Next Sunday, we're going back to our more regular way of doing some things with offering and communion. You can still donate online, of course, or we can still leave some plates out. You can offer your tithes and offerings that way, but since things seem to be returning, we're going to be returning. Things are going to seem a little bit more comfortable. There's still a whole bunch of non-perishable food items out in the fellowship hall on tables along the west wall. They are from the food closet. Cheryl Estes has a lot of food, a lot of things that she's trying to clean out and get stored. They've cleaned out the main food closet, and everything in the food closet, currently in the food closet, doesn't go out of date until 2022. Everything in the fellowship hall is dated through 2021. So if there's items there that appeal to you, or if you know of some people that might use a good care package, be generous, please. Go for it. Oh, hello there. It took me a second. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll talk later. I'm in the middle of something. But good to see you. Thanks. Thank you. The sisterhood, ladies interested in meeting with the sisterhood, if you can meet down here around the piano after church, that would be great. And something that's been on my mind for a little while to announce, this is as good a time as any. I do want people to be aware, a reminder about visitation, in particular hospital visitation. Now, I'll visit anybody that would like to see me. That's not a problem, but I have signed a code of ethics, of ministerial ethics, that respects the boundaries of people from who are members, active members of other churches, and there is a protocol about visiting them. Also, please remember, because of HIPAA laws, you have to specifically ask the hospital to contact me. They don't do it automatically anymore. A lot of people, I think, are still used to that system. Even if they ask you in admission, what's your religion, what church are you a part of, that does not mean they're contacting me. And it's always frustrating when I get reports about, well, you know, that person was in the hospital last week. Well, they're home now doing well, but they were in the hospital last week. Well, I can make a call, I can see them at home, but it's not quite the same. So if you are in the hospital, a direct call is wonderful. But if you know someone and they're not able to call, if you want to call for them, just know the details. Oh, one last thing. Make sure they're aware that I'm coming. One time I visited a person in the hospital, and they didn't know I was coming. And they later told a family that they were really put off by that, because they came from a tradition where the minister shows up for last rites. And that made them very uncomfortable. So I didn't anoint them or anything like that, you know, we just chatted, but people come from different traditions, so the more open the communication is, the better. Those are the announcements that I have. Are there other announcements that you'd like? Yes, Elaine.
I just want to say, I brought in some men's body wash that we're not going to use.
Okay, so men's washers. I don't know if that's a hint or not, but thank you for your generosity.
Whoever wants to use them, we just have so many because, he keeps bringing in more. And the hair dyes, I think they're red, blonde, and, he's not going to dye his hair red or blonde.
Well, that's a possibility. But anyway, okay, so if you want to dye your hair, try something different. Some men's body wash. They're in the kitchen.
I put them in a bag back here. I'll leave them, I don't know, wherever you want me to leave them.
How about on the kitchen counter? That's a good central location. Okay, anything else? Anyone else? Okay, so we have all the particulars covered in that respect. Let's change gears. And I have a question for you. Have you ever worked with a coworker who was, shall we say, more of a liability than an asset? I can tell by the giggles most of you have. It's remarkable if you do any kind of research about bothersome and counterproductive coworkers. You have the gossip, the negative coworker. You have the one website I looked to called it the bean counter. Someone who is so focused on every little detail, they miss the wider picture. You have the micromanager, the narcissist, all sorts of coworkers, all sorts of traits with coworkers that are less than productive. Of course, if I were to ask anyone who used to work with you, have you ever had a coworker that was less than helpful? I'm sure no one would ever mention your name. Yeah, now you're catching on to irony. We hope that coworkers and teams of people working on a project that everyone participates. But even back in high school and possibly even middle school, when you were given an assignment to work as a team, sometimes the team, it was not an equal distribution of work, practically speaking. One person could seem very busy but didn't really contribute much. Anyway, coworkers, we would like to think that a coworker, a collaborative team is more helpful and gets more done than single people. But that's not always the case. And that's important to consider because in 1 Corinthians 3, Paul writes that the one who plants and the one who waters have one purpose, and they will each be rewarded according to their own labor. For we are co-workers in God's service. You are God's field, God's building. We are co-workers with God. And there's two parts of that we can look at briefly this morning. One is we want to make sure we are a positive part of the team. We don't want to be on one of those lists about problem aspects of coworkers. We don't want to be on that list with God. But the other part to focus on is God's amazing sovereignty in these situations. Because, face it, none of us is perfect. None of us can do the job without God's guidance. Even on a good day, we are subpar. But God, in His love and His sovereignty, uses everyone who is at all willing to be used to His purposes and to achieve His will, to His glory. That, we might have some flaws and be a little bit counterproductive, but God can overcome that and use us for His purposes. Our opening hymn is number 457, Work for the Night is Coming. I invite you to please stand to sing.